Hey, everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to PHLY Flyers pregame presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. My name's Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the evening. Joining me tonight, it's the man behind Flyperbole. That's right, it's Steve Jaco. What's going on tonight, Steve?
What's up, Bill? Feeling good. I'm pumped for tomorrow. Just like a little bit of a big game for the city of Philadelphia tomorrow. But also, we got Flyers Penguins tonight, and it might be sloppy. It might be terrible, but you know what? It'll be chippy. It's Flyers Penguins. It's always interesting, at least.
It is. It is usually interesting. Flyers are going to be without Jacob Pelletier again as we get into some lineup stuff. But on the other end, like, Penguins missing some guys too, most notably Sidney Crosby. He's, I gotta guess, still going to play in Four Nations because, like, oh, what are they saving him for? Their big
Right.
Their big push for fifth in the Metro. Like, what exactly would be the point? Oh no, we have to let you. Like, he'll probably be in, but tonight a little bit of a another weird lineup. Jacob Gaucher, who we all know was sent down the other day. Well, guess what? He's back.
Oh, baby.
It looks like Jacob Pelletier, his paperwork's not done yet. How is this possible? Like, is it really just like the world's insane? And yeah,
Yes.
man, sorry.
It might be that simple. I guess they can only have one Jacob, right? Is that the rule right now? They can only have one Jake.
Maybe that's it. Yeah, there's no distinction between JAC and JAK. It's just the way it is going to be. The
It's
Flyers
crazy, though. It's been over a week. We haven't seen these guys yet. What the hell?
It's been like 8 or 9 days, right? It was like Thursday into Friday, so it's been like 8 days.
It'd be March.
Yeah, like, he won't have played for the team for a month. Like, this is the last game until the break. They're off for 2 weeks. They will have acquired him a month ago when he makes his debut against, I assume he'll debut against the Oilers when they come back 3 Saturdays from now or whatever the hell it is.
One would certainly hope.
But there are some other lineup notes for the Flyers as well. Earlier today, Charlie tweeted that Rasmus Ristolainen was going to be a game-time decision. And then we found out a little while later, the decision's already been made. Ristolainen is expected to be out of the lineup for the Flyers tonight. But Elliot Friedman was sure to clarify that it is injury-related, not trade-related. They think he's still going to play in the tournament. Again, it's like, he's not hurt that bad. It's just, what's the point here?
What are we doing?
Why not just give him one more day? And like, if he was a game time or game day decision today and the tournament doesn't start till Wednesday or Thursday for him, then I got to assume he'll be in Four Nations, Steve. But other than that, it's Sam Ersson, and we await the lines. We'll see who Kuzmenko makes his debut with. It's interesting, at least. There's something new to talk about.
After what we watched like the past couple weeks with this team, after watching this AHL roster struggle, and anything will be nice. Kuzmenko, his numbers are nuts. I don't understand them, but he's a guy who has skill. He's shown skill in the past. He has the ability to score, right? So at least there's somebody being injected into the lineup who gives them half a chance to score, and I'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. If he can help Michkov a little bit on the power play and we get maybe a look at what that should actually look like with some guys who have roles, maybe we'll see Michkov, I don't know, on the right boards where he's supposed to be rather than the left boards where he's been utilized a ton lately. I did see him over there more in the last game, but he was still on the left too. We'll see how it goes. But
dude, whatever worked for him in the last game, though, keep that going, because man, what a great thing seeing him get on the scoreboard again, get some confidence, get some, that's the most fun I've had with the Flyers game in weeks at this point.
Oh, so absolutely. And Steve, you and I have both said a ton, while it's been disappointing to see what's happened to Michkov over the last 2 months or so, I'm not worried about what he's going to be, what we're going to see next season, what he's going to be in his prime. That said, man, this is the Flyers. bad stuff happens all the time to this team where guys don't reach their potential. Just weird things happen, injury, whatever. And to have that little, just little reminder, like it's going to be okay, was just very, very nice, Steve.
We need it. We need any little reminder, anything that makes us feel good about being Flyers fans, because it feels so bad all the time. It was fun. It was fun in a way that I haven't had in a couple of weeks. And Forrester scored too. It's as good as you can feel about a loss. And frankly, it feels kind of good to lose right now, because you kind of want the Flyers to tank a little bit. Like they're never going to outwardly tank. That's not Flyers hockey for you. But it benefits this team to lose. Ultimately, this team's not a cup contender. Okay. This team has a better draft pick ultimately to help Michkov out. If they end up with a top 5 pick, especially, I have been increasingly hearing from people who know a lot more about me than prospects that this is not a deep draft. So if you can get one of those top picks, it really benefits the team. So if Michkov, Forrester score, and the Flyers lose, that's kind of awesome right there. That's a hat trick.
2 Michkov goals and Forster from Andre on the power play. Like, that's everything we need to see right there. Yeah. That's great. And then they lose. Now, that's kind of where we are in this game as well, Steve, because the Flyers and Penguins, they're separated by just 2 points. Their points percentages are pretty similar. And 3 of the next 4 Flyers games are against the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Gross.
Now, granted, they have 2 weeks off with the 4 Nations break, but it's Penguins tonight. They come back, I believe, against the Oilers, and then they have a home-and-home with the Penguins. So it's 3 of the next 4. Could really go a long way in determining, like, the draft lottery odds, because those 2 teams are right there with each other. So we'll see how that goes. We're still waiting to see if anyone tweets the actual lines anytime soon. We'll have those for you as soon as somebody does. But some other things hit Twitter today, Steve.
Ooh.
We got trade rumors. Who doesn't love trade rumors? Anthony DeMarco on Twitter earlier today says, sounds like trade talks are heating up around Flyers center Scott Laughton. Sources indicate Leafs and Jets are 2 teams who have the most interest, but a handful of teams are in the mix. We have heard the Leafs have been interested in Scott Laughton for a long, long time. I think it makes sense for the Jets to kind of bolster their depth, trade for somebody with a little bit of term who can't up and leave you. I'm excited about the possibility of more trades and the idea of moving on from a long tenured guy and kind of turning the team over to the next wave of players, next wave of leaders, beginning a new era post Scott Laughton. But that said, we've been hearing this for like 3 years.
We have.
I always let's start with this. Do you think they're going to do it this time?
No, absolutely not. I hope I'm wrong. And this isn't anything against Scott Laughton. I love Scott Laughton. He is an awesome leader for this team. I think he's the most likable guy on the team right now. I mean, non-Michkov, of course, because we love our Matvei. We love Mike over there. But Scott Laughton is a guy who probably should be traded. I mean, we love Scott Laughton for his grit and determination and all that stuff, but he's not an offensive dynamo. He's not a shutdown defensive guy. He's just a good vibes guy, basically. So if you can get assets for that, like, you gotta do it.
Yeah, it's absolutely what you should do in a rebuild. And listen, I can buy a couple of years ago if Danny Briere is taking over and saying, I have to fix the locker room before I fix everything else. And Scott Laughton is a guy who can help me do that. I can buy that. I also, while I'm sure there was some sort of condition that could have got them that first round pick for Laughton that was rumored, my hunch has always just kind of been, yeah, man, if the team makes the conference finals, that 2 turns into a 1 or something like that, like a conditional or a protected or a way in the future protect, whatever it is. I've always just kind of wondered if it was a straight up first round pick, because I don't know, that seems to be the asking price.
Right.
Like, that's what Danny's holding out for. Maybe back then he thought the leadership aspect and fixing the locker room and having this guy do that stuff was more important than, the 24th pick or whatever the hell it would have been. Maybe he made that determination back then, and it was, but I just always assumed it was like a conditional thing, something like that. But this time around, we're 2 years into the future. There's more young guys. There's young guys stepping up into leadership roles. We've moved on from some of the remainders of previous regimes with Farabee and Frost gone. And, obviously Provorov's been gone and Kevin Hay, like it's the next wave kind of taking over. I can see it. I can see now being a time where Danny Briere is confident that he can pull the trigger.
We got to rework this roster for the next era of Flyers, the new era of orange or whatever we're calling it. Like the roster can't be the same as it's been for the past like 5-10 years. There's a reason those guys haven't worked out. Like we have to move on from those guys at some point. So if you can get a palpable asset for Scott Laughton right now, do it. I am still skeptical though. I really think they love what he brings. I think they overvalue that at the end of the day.
Clearly.
We all like some leadership. We all like a good team guy. I think we were talking about this last time we potted together. We were talking about like little things like Delorier grabbing the puck for I forget who scored his first goal the other night. It was Abels.
It was
right?
Abels.
Yeah. And like that's cool and everything, but I'll move on from Nick Delorier in a heartbeat, even if he is a cheap vibes officer. I'm not into that. And look, I like all that stuff. They're good guys to have on the team, but ultimately they are not more valuable guys than the assets you can get. Especially like if you can get a second round pick for Scott Laughton, like I'm doing that. I'm 100% doing that.
Well, we know one, they say if you want him, you're going to have to overpay us. And two, like think about the return they just got for Frost and Farabee, a guy on an expiring contract, just kind of to match some money. A bottom six player who he's young. He hasn't been healthy a ton. Maybe there's something there in Jacob Pelletier, but we're not going to find out for 2 more weeks. Who the hell knows?
2 weeks.
And he's under team control till 2028, but it's not like, oh man, well, we have to have this dude. Like, we'll see what Pelletier is. We'll see what Kuzmenko is. And then a second round pick, like for 2 guys that are decent. Like I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, well, they had to get a first. No, they got what they could, so you could move on and open up the cap space and flexibility, and I'm cool with that. But
you say what you will about Frost, but he was a top 6 forward for this team. He was one of their best centers. Now that's not saying much, but he was a center that was relied upon. He was centering Tippett and Konechny. Like he was a valuable guy for this team, and clearly you're sending a signal by trading him, and you're getting a second round pick. That deal is for the second round pick at the end of the day, and the cap space. So. If you can get something equivalent for Scott Laughton, who is not nearly on the same level as those guys, even though his point total is kind of close, which is crazy, but I don't know. Yeah, I think you got to do it.
It was funny. Danny Briere was on the Marek show. I was catching up earlier today, and he talked about Marek asked, I got to listen, we can talk about the players and this and that. I just got to know the 2028 7th. How does that, like, would you not have done the deal without it? How does that get negotiated? And Danny was just like, listen, it's just a piece for us. It's just one more thing. It's a future pick. It's down the road. Maybe we make the pick, in 2028, or maybe it's just a thing we throw into a trade for a player. It's whatever. It's just another thing that we could get in return that basically like, what else are you willing to part with? I need a little bit more here. And, like that's what it seemed like to me.
You got to give me a bag of pucks in this deal or else I'm out.
Do you think if they were to pull this off, Steve, they would make this trade over the break? Like, do you think they would trade Scott Laughton and then he's kind of just gone and it's never really like the cleaning out the locker, saying goodbye to everyone's situation.
Oh, man.
Like he's just gone. And like, okay, now he's a Maple Leaf or whatever. Like, do you think they would do that, or they would wait to reconvene on the 22nd or whatever it is?
It's interesting. I don't feel like that would be a very Flyers thing to do. But at the same time, one of the things that I've been talking about for the past couple of years, or at least since Briere came in, is I'm looking for less of a traditional Flyers way of managing this team and more of like a ruthless cutthroat. You look over across the street at what Howie Roseman's done with the Eagles, and Howie Roseman is pretty ruthless with that team sometimes. Every now and then he does a little sweetheart deal with like Fletcher Cox or something like that at the end of his career. But for the most part, it's pretty ruthless, and they're playing for the championship. So, that's what you got to do sometimes. And I think one of the things with the Flyers is They got a real, like, when you're here, your family attitude, which is awesome, right? It can definitely help with some of the
Olive
alumni.
Garden, baby.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going for. Unlimited breadsticks at Flyers games. That's how you win the fans back, is unlimited breadsticks.
Oh, those breadsticks would be on the ice in the first 12 minutes of the game.
That's 100% true. That's not even a question. Light up bracelets and breadsticks.
Yeah.
There you go. But like, I think at some point, like, you have to make harder decisions and less of this like family atmosphere. Like, they have an insane amount of alumni and like nepo babies like working for the team. That's the Flyers for you. But like, I would love to see just a little bit more ruthlessness. And that's not to say I want to see it in this specific situation, but maybe just more moving forward.
Yeah. And like, I think Howie Roseman's a great example. Like, he's found the line where it's not Joe Banner, cutthroat, you're over 30, you're dead to me, like moving on, screwing guys over on contracts and then just expecting them to show up happy to work. Like, it's not Joe Banner.
Oh, that was bad.
But it's still a little of that with a little bit more of that emotional intelligence that they value so much. So maybe that's what we can ask for out of Danny. I have a prediction. Now, it depends on the outcome of the game tomorrow. But since there's only one outcome, Eagles by 17, this is going to happen next Monday. They're not gonna make a trade that's gonna get swallowed up by the parade and all that. But once that's settled, next Monday they're still on break. I think if there's going to be a trade made, it is then, Steve. That's my guess.
Bold prediction, my friend. I'm into it. I mean, I think you just got to move on from some of these guys at some point. And speaking of moving on from guys, we got some lines for tonight, so we can see where
we have the line.
We can see where Kuzmenko is getting in there, and there we go. We got him up on the screen.
All right, look at that. We have them from Jordan Hall. It is Kate's Forster Brink stays together. Laughton, the man of the hour here with Kuzmenko and Konechny. So that's where Kuzmenko makes his debut. They're keeping together that excellent Couturier, Abels, Michkov line from the other night. The best all three have looked since Abels got here, and for Michkov in like over a month, and Couturier maybe all season. And then Gaucher comes back, Hathaway, Delorier in the poet line. It's just like it's all they all name. I don't know. It's just funny to say.
I like it. Yeah, I'm into it.
JJ actually made a joke about it as well the other night, so that was fun. On D, that remains the same. York, Sandheim, Sealer, Drysdale, and Andre Johnson out there as your D pairs. So Kuzmenko makes his debut with Laughton and Konechny. I was hoping against hope that we would see Kuzmenko and Michkov together, but you can't do that to a center. Like, you can't do that to one of these centers. Like, you can't.
Sean Couturier is just like huffing and puffing. Like, why would you do this to me? Why would you forsake me like this, John Tortorella?
Yeah, it's just, that's too much. But I really hope they get some time together on the power play. Perhaps that will be tonight. And that leads us to tonight's bets. This pregame pick segment is brought to you by Bet365. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in PA. If you or someone who knows a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, Steve, just one tonight, and we're going to try to ride the hot hand here. Matvei Michkov, we've been talking about how well he played in the last game, lined up against the Washington Capitals. He was excellent, scored a couple of goals. I'm hoping he rides this wave, and then he can re-energize over the 2-week break, whatever that is. But we're going to take that Michkov goal, anytime goal, at plus 325 tonight. We're going to try to cash in on that because why the hell not? It's the last game before Four Nations. He's not playing in Four Nations. Here's his chance to make one last impression before the break.
And the Penguins' goaltending and defensive situation ain't great. So if there's a game to score in, this could be. I'm hoping for a nice high-scoring game tonight.
Oh, absolutely. And that's we sort of got that last time out against the Penguins, Steve. They beat the Flyers 7-3 right before the Xmas break. I think it was the 23rd. It was the last game before the Christmas break.
The Festivus game.
Yes, the Festivus game. But it was actually a little closer than a 7-3 score sounds.
Now it was a close game for most of it. Like, I remember because I was on antibiotics that night, so
Oh,
I had to leave early. So I was just like, because I wasn't feeling great, but like I was conflicted because it was a close game for a while, and I didn't. You don't want to leave a close game, especially when you got a cool atmosphere with some of our great fans out there, to chop it up with and watch.
No, it was a great time, but like the Pens were up 4-1 after the first. All right, this is a blowout. No, Flyers make it 4-3 like halfway through the second. Then Bunting scores late. It's 5-3. And then there's no scoring again until Crosby gets an empty netter with like 2.5 minutes left to make it 6-3. With 18 seconds left, Michkov gets called for a penalty, and they add a power play goal. So that's how that went for the Flyers in that game. So it ends up being 7-3, even though it was a little closer than that. But you look at the standings right now. Like I said earlier, this is a big one for the draft lottery, Steve. They're separated by just a couple of points. Flyers are 8th in the Metro with 53. Penguins 7th with 55. And we need the Penguins to have as terrible lottery odds as humanly possible.
Yes.
Because we know what happens.
Yes.
They win the lottery.
Yes.
It's rigged for them.
Yes.
Like, it happened before.
I'm just so sick. Like, after seeing it get rigged again for Chicago a couple years back with Bedard, like, come on, guys. We all know what's happening here. It's like, I love when the big sports leagues like blatantly do this stuff and then try to deny it. Like, the NFL's like, no, we're not making special calls for the Chiefs. We know you're doing it. Yeah. Oh, we didn't rig the draft for Patrick Kane and for Connor Bedard for the Chicago Blackhawks. You did it. We know you did it. And they 100% rigged that Pittsburgh one.
I just always go back to Pittsburgh. Like, all right, you had the, I think what they have, the second pick in the first year, right after the 04 ends. I believe they have the second pick that year. And then there's a lockout. There's no season. And they just used the previous year's standings to do the lottery again. And would you look at that? They win. Like, wow. Why? There was no season. And like, when we come back, we know everyone's rosters are going to be dramatically different because there's a salary cap now. Half the league is getting bought out of their deals. Like, oh yeah, no, we're just gonna go on the idea that, like, all the teams that were good in 03, 04 are going to be good in 05, 06. That makes sense. It was freaking rigged. It
was 100% rigged, and like. All just because we can't have a major metropolis like Pittsburgh go without a team to move to Kansas City. You can't have that happen.
Yeah, what would the league do without Pittsburgh and its 17 people that live there and the bars that are only opened on weekends? What would we do?
Oh my God, the bar scene there is just so brutal every time I go. Like, because we have some like family out there sometimes, and we'll go, and it's like, oh, these close at like 8 o'clock. Cool, this is great. Oh, and I can only get sandwiches with French fries and coleslaw on them. That's fantastic.
Yeah, you know where French fries belong? Next to a sandwich. Yes. Just right next to them. They're great food by themselves. They don't need to be on a sandwich. They add nothing to a sandwich. No. There's bread on a sandwich. They're not crunchy. Like, you can put chips. That makes sense. That adds a crunch. Fries? What's the... Oh, it's our thing. Well, your thing's stupid, and you're all dumb. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. You're just dumb. The Magooby at Chickies was excellent, though. Since discontinued, cold shrimp, pickles, crab fries. But it's crab fries. There's something special about them. They have a delicious seasoning on them. These are just fries. It's asinine.
I want some crab fries now.
I forgot Kevin Hayes was on the Penguins. I see your note here. He still can't crack the top 6, even with this lineup. Malkin's on IR. Rust is on IR. Crosby's out tonight. I think he was out last game. Hayes still not in the top 6.
It's so funny. Like, what a fall from grace this guy has taken. Like, I remember the Flyers overpaid him to come here and be the 2C. That first year was great, though. Like, even like the first couple of years, like, it was really good for a while. And then, like, man, when he plummeted, he fell hard. I mean, the Flyers, like, basically just like, okay, we're just dumping him in his back alley. And then he couldn't even like hang with the Blues, and the Blues stink. And then I still don't understand why the Penguins got it. Like, it didn't make sense to me. I completely forgot about it too. I was looking at the lineup today. I was like, Kevin Hayes is on the Penguins.
And I always just kind of thought it was really unfortunate the way it went for Kevin Hayes here. Like, he was a really good teammate and a really good player for this team. He has the 3 procedures to fix the core muscle injury he has because they just can't get it right. There's an infection. Like, things just keep going wrong all the while. Like, his brother passes away. Like, it was just a really rough time for him, and it has clearly affected his career to the point, like, now injury and age-related decline, he's nowhere near the player he was on the contract that the Flyers signed him to initially. And listen, I'm glad they're out of it. I was also really glad to have Kevin Hayes for the time we did. He was an entertaining player. He made 2020 a lot of fun. Like, that was a great run, but it's just a bummer to see. Like, yeah, it's just like a bummer to see where his career went after he just couldn't quite like get healthy and get it all straightened out here.
It is a real bummer. It sucks to see. And it's like crazy though to think that he's on a depleted Penguins roster right now.
Yeah.
Like, Raquel's the number 1 center tonight. Like, what? Like, what's going on? And Raquel's good, but like, why is he there? But like, Hayes can't crack the top 6 without like Crosby and Malkin in the lineup. And it's just like wild to think about. But yeah, I do feel bad for the guy, but at the same time, like, man, I have never seen anybody get along as poorly with the coach here as I did Kevin Hayes and John Tortorella. Real oil and water situation there.
Yeah, they were. I always appreciate. I did really appreciate last year when Tortorella did the whole like after the like Cutter Gauthier. Kevin Hayes' fingerprints are all over this. Like, he couldn't get along with him as a hockey player. Because Kevin Hayes, and it is, listen, he looks different. Like, you watch Kevin Hayes play and you know it's Kevin Hayes. Like, he is a deliberate guy. He, not the most aggressive attacker on either end of the ice. Like, he plays a certain style that we now know, like, this is nothing close. John Tortorella wants you going north and south as fast as you can. And Kevin Hayes was slow east-west. It was never going to work. And on top of that, like, one of the most popular guys in the locker room, you just couldn't have a dude with that much influence be that opposite of what the coach is looking for. Like, it just was not going to work here.
Oh, it was a terrible, terrible marriage right there. And yeah, just interesting where everybody is now. But I don't know what the heck to expect from this game tonight, Bill. Like, I think there'll be some scoring, but like, I wouldn't be shocked to actually see a Flyers dub tonight. You know,
it wouldn't. No, I mean, look at this lineup.
Look at the Penguins lineup. The Penguins also just played last night in New York. They did take it to the Rangers. They beat the Rangers last night in MSG. But back-to-backs are always tough. Sam Erson's been playing better of late, and there is, the Flyers got a good chance in this game.
And this could be Erson's last start for a while. He is on Team Sweden with Jacob Markstrom out. But it does look like Linus Ullmark is back. Philip Gustafsson is the number 1. So as the number 3 in a short tournament, I can't imagine he gets a ton of time. He'll get to practice and everything.
That's great news.
Yeah. I mean, when both were out, it was like, ooh, so we're one bad Philip Gustafsson start away from him being the number 1 for Team Sweden. Like, that would be, I mean, it would be cool for him. But now he gets the opportunity. He'll still be with the team, but he'll hopefully get a little bit of rest for the end of this season.
I really want Sam Ersson to finish this season out strong.
Yes.
Because regardless of what happens, the Flyers, I don't see them signing a goaltender in the next year. So, like, he has another year to prove himself. I really want him to prove himself to at least be a guy they can use in a tandem moving forward. Like, this is another big prove it year coming up. And he ended last year so poorly that, like, I feel like if he could at least end this year strongly, there's a better chance of him, I don't know, figuring out his injury issues or something. I'm pulling for Sam Ersson. I really like Sam Ersson. I'm pulling for him. It's been a very frustrating year. And if he can get rest and finish season strong, hopefully maybe he could be a guy. I
think he has something that can make him a part of this. I don't think it's as the number 1, but I think he can be a good tandem guy, an excellent backup, but he's just got to show it and he's got to be consistent. We'll see if he can pull out a dub for the Flyers tonight. All right. This has been PHLY Flyers pregame presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. I'm Bill Matz. That's Steve Jaco. We will be back with post-game as soon as this thing goes final. So tune in for that. Follow us right here on the YouTube and follow me on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers. That's it. Until post-game, let's go Flyers.